In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Chris.
I'm Eddie.
And we are
the Anidorks.
Yay!
Yeah! We got it in one. That was great.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
So here we go. We are the Anidorks. And this
Hi,
is
everybody.
Book 1. Hi, everybody. This is book 1, The Invasion.
Yeah. Let's take a second to wrap, and just bring a little of ourselves into it. We've been talking about doing this podcast. You two have been talking about doing this podcast for a long time, but now there's a lot of buzz around some new Animorphs content, and we think now is the time.
Yes, now is the time. We've been planning this podcast for 21 years, and now is the time. Ever since that Scholastic book fair on the second floor of our elementary school.
Right.
Those exciting covers.
Oh, they were so
they were-
exciting. Yeah. I think a lot of people, that is probably like their only exposure to Animorphs is like these covers sort of became a meme. And I know like the starfish one, I can't remember what number that is like really...
That one's so good.
It's like a really big meme. But anybody who has read any of the Animorphs books knows that they are pretty intense books.
Yeah, it's a lot for like little kids in a nondescript American town to take on. Do you guys remember this though? Just talking about the physical books, do you guys remember that they had like a little flip book down by the page number? Okay, because they don't do that anymore.
No, I have the book here.
Yeah. But in the original
checked.
copy, it had a morph that you could flip book through.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was full disclosure. I was pretty little when these books came out and did not read them until pretty recently, actually. But
I don't.
Were they at your book fairs though, Miranda?
yes, some of the later ones were, but
And I would say like I don't know if we were right on the release of it, because I remember reading it and the television show started at around the same time. So yeah, but I don't know. I was doing a little digging into the television show. I'm hoping to start watching it alongside us making
that's
the
awesome.
show. But
Did you watch it?
I watched it when I was a kid, and I remember I remember like the whole concept of the Yeerks, spoiler alert, but the whole concept of the Yeerks was like so disturbing. And I never looked at earwigs again.
oh, you told me earwigs could go in your ears.
Yeah, and I think I was just borrowing that from Yeerks because
So Miranda did not read the books until now.
That is true.
I read the books. I read like the first 10 to 15. I feel like I'll find out as we go which one I got to. But I think it was like 10 to 15. Maybe further, though. I feel like depending on the day, I think that I made it. I definitely didn't make it to, 42? Are there 42?
There's 54.
Books?
there's a lot.
54.
Wow.
45 is apparently where like the last arc really starts, and it really gets beefy.
Yeah, I read the first one around the time that the show was coming out because I was very TV motivated. If you told me a movie was coming out, I wanted to read the book first.
Yeah.
These were very present books though, like everywhere you went at this time. Like if there was like a child of the right age in the house, one of these books was probably around. Like, and it's like, I feel like I didn't know anybody who'd read a lot of them, but I did know a lot of people who'd read some of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, in talking to people about us sort of going on this adventure in this book club, like more and more people have been coming out of the woodworks. It's like, oh my God, I read the entire thing and like blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited to get the experience under my belt.
Yeah.
So who wants to do the 3-sentence summary?
Oh, 3-sentence summary.
3 sentences. We could each take a sentence.
Oh, do you want to do that
That
for
would
the
be
first
weird.
time?
We could try,
It's gonna be weird. Who goes first?
I will try. If 5 normal mall rats go walking to 5 middle school students,
Junior high, yeah.
are walking home from school through an abandoned construction site and encounter an alien prince who gives them power. I'm using my first
Using this sentence for all it's worth. All right, Faulkner.
Who gives them the power to turn into animals. Period.
Good sentence. Round of applause. Sentence 2, let's see it. See if you can get past the zoo in this sentence.
I think I just killed 50 pages right there. They spend some time turning into animals and petting each other.
Yes.
Discovering the enemy has already infiltrated their immediate circles and obtained
The enemy is
some
heteronormativity.
powerful morphs. Period. They discovered that the enemy base is actually beneath their middle school and try to destroy it, but fail.
All right.
How was
Really
that?
good.
That was
Really
pretty on
good.
point.
Shockingly accurate.
All right.
In fact, I hope Wikipedia was listening because that's a better synopsis than is on the...
All right. Group of 5 normal children groomed by strange alien
Oh.
learn to turn into animals. They use this power at first for shenanigans, but soon realize there's a war ahead. I guess that's only 2 sentences.
That's good.
That's pretty great. That's pretty good. All right, so I have to do it in 1 sentence now. All right. Okay.
This
I
is
think
the
I can
real
make this-
game, actually. Yes.
One of us gets 3, one gets 2, the other gets 1. All right, I'll try. Almost everything I say is a run-on sentence, so it shouldn't be too hard. Okay. Led by resident Freak Tobias, Jake and the gang meet an alien who gives them the powers to morph into animals so they can defeat other aliens that are invading Earth.
Oh,
Bug
yeah, I
alien.
forgot to mention the invasion. That's
Yeah.
the name of the book!
You said there's a war ahead. Yeah.
Resident Freak Tobias, like, I want that on my... I want Resident Freak on my gravestone.
Freaking resident. Oh no! I just
No!
dropped my keyboard.
You
Freaking
murdered
residence
someone.
was the joke I was gonna.
Freaking residents. Another fun note for everybody is that Chris and I share many things, but we also share a Kindle account.
About 50% of our genetic information.
I think 100% of our genetic
How does it work?
Yeah, so we could see each other's notes that we were adding to this as we were reading the book. And,
I had no idea that anyone would ever be reading the notes I left in the Kindle. So like, I got kind of unhinged, like just a little bit.
Wait, can we hear some?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I think
okay,
Miranda's about to
so-
bring it up.
Page two. We were playing video games and hanging out at this cool store that sells comic books and stuff. The usual. Note from Chris. So casual. Also, page 2.
Got his
Mostly,
ass.
we're equally good at games. Note. Doesn't seem like it.
I know Chris hated Jake.
I did. I really struggled with Jake.
Oh, again, last one from page 2. So sometimes he beats me. Note from Chris. 'Cause he's better than you.
You put a lot of notes.
The original Marco Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of notes. The first 7 chapters of this book took me 2 days to read because I just stopped and wrote notes. I basically wrote a book alongside the book. But anyway.
I noticed that with my own scribbles. So I have the physical copy and I was marking it up, but then the moment like arguably the most exciting parts of the book, like the zoo, and then when they go into the basement of the school, just nothing except
It speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Ourselves. I'm putting the cart before the horse.
And
The
Cassie
morph
hasn't
before
even
the
learned to
horse.
morph yet. We got to start at
Exactly.
page 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
All right, so our book begins, and
With my favorite character to hate.
book 1 is narrated by Jake. There's rotating narrators through the series, as we will come to know. And it starts in a normal day at the arcade, and they're just hanging out, playing some video games,
Trying to keep it casual.
Forgetting that the Sleaze troll shows up right after you cross the Netherfjord.
Yeah,
and so we're wasting our quarters. So Jake and Marco are playing games, and they're greeted by Tobias, who is sort of a character.
When I listened to the audiobook, the person who did the voices had to make choices about how everybody sounded. He made Tobias sound like an utter freak. Just like, hey guys, can I walk home with you? And then later when Tobias was like, it's an alien spaceship. It was just like, it was so it was bananas. It was like, yeah.
It sounds like they went for generic nerd character for Tobias.
Yeah, he gets bullied.
Mm-hmm.
But he's really the artsy kid.
I agree.
Yeah.
He's gonna be.
He
He was gonna be an art kid in high school for sure.
Yeah.
But they say he's newer at school, so he's just paying his dues, unfortunately. But he's a sweet kid. He's really he's the softy of the group. I feel like.
Yeah.
He really is.
On the spectrum of who's ready for some weird shit to happen, Tobias is most ready.
Oh, yeah.
Most
Yeah.
prepared.
Oh yeah.
Was waiting for this book to happen.
Tobias has been waiting every single day to meet an alien who gives him the power to morph.
Could often be overheard saying, "Are you an alien?" to little bugs on tables.
So they run into Tobias. Tobias is like, "Can I walk home with you guys?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Yeah, the shittiest thing though is just Jake being like, "I guess Tobias thinks we're friends."
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
no,
Jake,
that's a rough one.
Jake, come on.
It's
Anyway,
like I told
that-
some kids to stop giving him a swirly, so he thinks we're friends now.
Yeah. So my read of Jake's angle on is that Jake's just not ready to admit how he really feels about Tobias.
Right.
That's
I think
fair.
there's also
Yeah,
a
I
big
think
part
you're
of
right.
I don't know that they know each other that well yet. So he's like, I'm not saying he couldn't be my friend. I'm saying we've had one interaction.
Yeah, and it wasn't really a date. It was more like we happened upon each other out, and So yeah.
So anyway, we're introduced to the girls, Rachel and Cassie. Rachel, Jake's cousin.
Unfortunately for Jake.
Unfortunately
Oh my
for
God.
Jake.
Rachel is kind of pretty, I guess. I mean, okay, she's really pretty, although since she's my cousin, I don't really think about her that way.
Yeah.
It's just unfreaking believable. It's it was so painful.
You never want to be described as having a very clean, very wholesome look. You just feel like that's disguising some dark.
And then we get introduced to my favorite character, Cassie. And she just seems real cool. She's wearing plaid shirt and jeans. I'm sure there's no reason I think that's cool. She's got short hair. This character couldn't be coded any sort of way.
I feel like Cassie, on that spectrum of Tobias being most ready for weird shit to happen, Cassie is just after him and maybe prepared in a different way. She gets introduced as the mystical one, and she's also the soft. She's also empathetic.
But she's she's the softie who'll do what it takes.
Yeah.
Because Jake has a huge thing for Cassie, because she's the only, I'm assuming, 'cause
viable
she's
option
not
because
cousin,
of his
right?
internalized homophobia.
Yeah. Though I think it's the least convincing of the three, the ones that I read as the romantic options for Jake.
Oh,
I think Cassie ranks third after his own cousin and Tobias.
Definitely not Marco though. Definitely they're just bros being bros.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Marco and Jake worked out those boundaries long ago.
But Cassie's totally into animals, eco-friendly, save the bees.
Her parents are incredible. They own a farm. They're both veterinarians, and they also own the biggest zoo on
They
the
own
planet.
it?
Her mom works at it. Her
Oh,
mom
they work
works at
there.
it.
Okay.
She's
Yeah.
like the head vet at the
But it sounds
zoo.
incredible.
It's
It is incredible.
I'm like, I want those
Yeah.
to be my parents for sure.
Legendary zoo.
So now we've met our 5 friends, and they've decided they're all going to go home together because, you know, the boys offer to walk the girls home, and Rachel is like, I'm sorry, you're saying we need boys to walk us home? And Cassie's like, look, you know, you might not be scared, but maybe it'd be nice to have the boys walk home with us, all right? Maybe it'd be
Slow
better.
your roll,
Groups
Rachel.
are better. Groups are better.
Groups are better.
It's not
Groups
because
are
they're
better.
boys. It's because we need more
Yeah.
people.
Because apparently Jake's mentions both axe murders and chainsaw killers.
Oh, yeah. He's like
I
certain
think.
he hears a chainsaw killer at one point.
Which makes me wonder about like the urban legends in this town, or like what's happened in the last couple years in the news.
But we're never going to know. We're never going to know.
No.
'Cause
Yeah,
they're
we're
not allowed
never
to tell
gonna
us
know.
what's out.
It's also interesting, like the way that they describe. So they're all going to walk home together, and they're going to take a shortcut that they don't need to take, that none of them are allowed to take, through a construction site that the way
Abandoned.
they talk about it, an abandoned construction site, that the way they talk about it is like it was like a founding part of this town that they live in or something. Like it's been there as long as I can remember. And the thing is, they're just like 11 years old,
Right.
and it like
Probably came
only
up
been
like
walking
4
the
years
mall.
ago.
Yeah. But why abandoned? Like what even?
Well,
It's like
so
they
if,
were
like,
building and
I assumed maybe this is just coming from my.
Like-
Exactly. No, we can't tell them where we live.
oh sorry, cut that out.
No. So, growing up when we did, there were a lot of companies that had like contracted and were like gonna build all these houses and these developments and stuff. And then they ran out of money while they were building them.
And we're all gonna take a trip through the haunted. What is it called again? Construction site. We're all gonna take. Yeah, we're all gonna take a
Abandoned
trip through the
construction
haunted.
site. And they're like,
abandoned
if
construction
our
site.
parents ever found out we were here, we get in so much trouble. So anyway, that's where we go.
We took a blood oath before taking our first steps beyond the gate. And so they're walking in, having a great time, freaking each other out. I don't know. Marco watches a lot of late night television.
Yeah, he's a big Leno fan. Or Letterman,
yeah,
Letterman.
Letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the jokester of the group. I feel like it's also worth saying that, and we'll come back to this later, I feel like there might be some nefarious reasons this construction site has remained abandoned.
Ooh.
Like a cover
I did.
or something.
I don't know. I've been wondering about that too. If it's like somehow planned.
Is we're getting close to our like the really big exposition dump of the book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We got a lot going on.
We gotta get
here.
through this.
We gotta
All
get
right.
to work. Yeah.
So, Tobias, naturally, the first to spot in the sky.
He's like tripping over everything because his
Just
eyes
staring.
are just lasered. I want to believe style up on the stars, and just like and they keep picking him up, standing him up for a couple yards, and then he just bites the dust again.
Jake says that's the way Tobias is sometimes, off in his own world. Judgy.
And then,
So judgy, but also hedging. Like sometimes he's like that.
and then, in one of the best descriptions in the entire book, perhaps in the entire world, they look up and they see what appears to be a brilliant blue light, quote, that scooted across the sky.
It's such a good verb. The verb is doing
Here's my
so
thing
much
about
work.
scoot, right?
Yeah.
Here's my thing about scoot. It to me implies this starting and stopping.
Yeah. You scoot when you're sitting on
You
something.
scoot.
Yeah, you scoot. It's like a dog scratching its rear end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scoot, scoot, scoot.
And that
I
just
agree it's doing so much work, Chris, but why?
What work is
why
it
is
doing?
it doing?
Yeah.
What work is it doing? Yeah. Is it doing the correct work? Did she pluck that out of the air?
it's an evocative choice for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. What I'm seeing, I don't know.
Well,
I'm seeing it.
Cassie will tell you that's a flying saucer.
Yeah.
The ship's coming down, and this is where we're gonna, as I so loved that you put in the notes here, Chris. So we are meet cuting the Andalite.
It's a doomed relationship. It's very short-lived, but boy, is it! It's one of the steamier moments in the series.
So we get the cute spaceship. It's not just scooting, it's
Oh,
cute.
It's cute.
It's almost cute,
And it's got
yeah.
some kind of scorpion tail. 'Cause everything's got scorpion tails.
The one thing I will say is like, so he says, Jake like absentmindedly while they're watching this alien spaceships that's cute with a huge tail scoot across the sky. Like he just blurts out like, that tail thing, it looks like a weapon. And it's like such a thing an 11-year-old would say.
Yeah.
It's really on point for an 11-year-old.
Jake
so
also
good.
just
Like,
loves tails. I mean, this book's crazy about tails. So
he's nuts about tails. He's very tail focused. And the other
Tail
thing
forward.
I'll say, tail forward. He leads with his tail.
They're just squirting out of things.
Oh God! Don't remind me.
Oh man,
Another verb choice.
The worst verb choice. There's
It's
a
so
note
choice.
that happens way later, but there's a note on the Kindle version that we shared that is on that squirted, and it just says, "I hate this."
I truly did.
Just think, she could have described the ship as squirting across the sky, and she could have described the tail as scooting.
Did you like? This is what her editor should have been doing. It's like, have you mixed up the verbs? But anyway, so he says that tail thing. That's a weapon. It just reminds me of like when we were kids, we would honestly, all three of us, we would film our own episodes of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yep,
And like, we'd and we'd make our own horror movies. And without fail, I would say some stupid shit like that. And like, I knew that it was stupid at the time. Like we'd be watching the video back 30 minutes later and I'd be like, see, Chris, that was a good scene and you ruined it. You just walked into the middle of the scene and said something everybody already knows. But it's the natural expositionizer in me.
I had like this obsession with being like some sort of really creepy Victorian child. And honestly, I think it's still my goal. Like, I think.
Is there any other kind?
All right. So as the ship approaches, they're debating. They're like, "What's going on? Like, is this real? Should we?" Marco thinks they should get a camera.
Yeah, and they should have talked about America's Funniest Home Videos, but they made a Letterman reference instead. It's fine. And then they make our first Star Trek reference because they consider running away, and they're like, "No, we'll get shot with phasers." And then like Marco's like, "Phasers are only real in Star Trek, bruh." So, bruh.
They measure the ship in buses.
Yes,
too.
that's right.
And it's got to be school buses.
Yeah,
it's got to be. All right, where we at?
Okay, so last thing about the spaceship is my favorite description of it is that Jake said he was scared, but at the same time it was all cool beyond any coolness ever, and I think that's all we need to say.
Yeah.
Tobias wasn't scared though, because as we say, he's never scared of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the normal stuff that frightens him.
Yeah.
I think that's a quote.
It's a great line.
Yeah. It also just further leads me to believe Jake has been paying attention to Tobias a lot longer than he's ready to tell us.
You're absolutely right.
Well, we're not friends, but like I noticed him.
It's the normal stuff you can't stand.
The way he stares out the window.
I should get him something weird for his birthday. Noted. Don't get him a normal Valentine's Day gift.
It'll scare him.
Box of chocolates. Ooh.
I also love that I forgot that Jake is still measuring as the spaceship as it lands. He says, it's about, I've tried to think, about 3 or 4 times as big as our minivan. Who is he measuring it for? They're all looking at it.
Girls are really bad at spatial awareness. They really need a metric they can understand.
He's already condescended to Rachel once. He's just keeping that going, Yeah, it really is like he's one of those dads who just can't shut up once he's making comparison.
So, the Andalite shows up.
The Andalite's here.
Oh,
and everybody knows this is important. And they all just sort of sense it. They all seem to just sense that it's important. Yeah. And I wonder why. See, that's me, because as we'll learn throughout this scene, the Andalite has telekinetic abilities. Not telekinetic so much as, well, you understand. He doesn't move things with telepathic. That's what I want. The Andalite has telepathic abilities. See, I'll cut out all the rest of the stuff that made me sound stupid. He's sort of centaur shaped, but with like a deer body. So I assume that means smaller, maybe a little clothing hooks. So. And no mouth, just like slits, which to me is horrifying.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
He's
stalks.
eating some brackets.
Yeah, he's got like
not brackets, carrots.
Like,
right?
you guys remember Real Monsters?
Yes, the character that had the whole
He held his eyeballs. That's how I imagine the Andalites' eye stalks.
Yes. Yeah, I am here for that 100%. And another thing, so this is, I like want to talk a little bit about the carrots or the brackets that like Eddie pointed out. They're like the greater than, less than graphics brackets. And what's really just like delightful about that is this is a very 90s book. This is a very 90s, turn of the millennium sort of experience. And those brackets are like the beginning of the internet. Like HTML uses those same brackets for denoting tags and it's such a nice, like, futuristic touch that is futuristic for like such a strangely specific version of the past, but it's almost like I haven't read a whole lot of like cyberpunk or anything like that, but it seems like it's like baby's first cyberpunk. It just feels very like anyway.
I remember reading this when I was like 6 or so and thinking it was just the coolest thing in the world. Like, it blew my mind. It was like, oh, there's another way of communicating, another way of speaking. Like, I know this is science fiction because of these, like, the brackets. Yeah. And I felt like,
for sure.
Yeah. Especially for a kid reading this around that age, like, it's just like and at that time, it was just the most like interesting thing in the whole world. Yeah.
So the Andalite comes out and he's like, "Hey."
He's fluttering all four of his eyes. Yeah. So, hey, nice to meet you. I could use some water.
He's also bleeding.
It's the classic, like, introduce, like, the stakes are already so high. Like, we're introduced to the idea and he's dying. Like,
yeah.
There's also a very slow pan across him to describe what an Andalite.
Oh yeah,
and they do the whole slow door coming down, and and Jake just gives him a nice head to toe, just talking about the weird eyeballs looking around, the entrancing eyes, the blue fur, blue and tan covering the four-legged body that really looked like it belonged to a deer or maybe a small horse.
And then
the tail.
Oh
yeah. And
you're lying, Chris.
Where is it? I got it in front of me here. Except I can't be the freak that reads my own thing.
Well, I want to hear how it was delivered in the audiobook, too.
I can't huff my own supply here. Okay, all right, fine. Let me find it. The aliens seemed kind of harmless at first glance, too. Then you saw that tail of his, and you thought, whoa, this guy could do some damage if he wanted. And it's like, damn, Jake, so thirsty. Jake's so thirsty.
It's like, chill. All right, Jake.
We will see what we can do.
He can't wait to kill. Like,
right.
He can't wait to
loves
kill.
weapons.
He's like, I'm a lot more excited about aliens now that I know they could kill people.
That's hot. And then, hello, Tobias said. His voice was gentle, like he was talking to a baby. He was grinning. That line read, I only point this out because that line read was messed up. Like, it was just like after him being like, da-da-da, then it's like Tobias being like, hello. like it's totally like the wind could have knocked him over. Anyway, all right. So yeah, and he's sure he's gonna die. Cassie's like, look, he's injured, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm dying.
No, this is fatal. Like I get that you don't know a lot about Andalite physiology, but like I'm gonna die.
But you should be able to tell. Yeah.
They also just all catch up to the fact that there's an alien in front of them so quickly. Like, Jake starts going, no, you can't die. You're the first alien ever to come to Earth.
Which big assumption.
Yes, huge assumption.
You're like, this is definitely the first time it's happened.
None of them are really in shock, though. Like,
no, not. And see, this is where I think that the Andalite's telepathy is coming into play. I think he's doing something.
I really think because you're absolutely right, because they talk about how they'll out of nowhere feel these like pleasing feelings, like these pleasure feelings. It's like they feel calm and they feel
not the same pleasure that Jake's experienced.
No, it's a little different.
I don't mean pleasure. I mean I believe he does describe it directly as like some sort of peacefulness comes over him.
Yeah, he also describes like feeling like the alien is an old friend he hadn't seen in a long time. Like that he's
never a good sign. Never a good sign.
And I'm like, he's doing something to their brains, and it may be for a good cause, but it's still weird.
Yeah, why? I wonder if, and I'm sure we'll get into this in future books, because there really seems to be something going on with Tobias and the Andalite. Because there's a lot of whispering happening. I
made a face there for the podcast.
Yeah, that was quite a look.
But it almost seems like he chose these 512-year-olds.
It kind of feels like I don't know how much control he had over where he landed, but if I was crashing to Earth and I saw Tobias, I would be like, that kid looks like a freak. That kid looks like he can handle this.
I want to party with that kid, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what he had to do, like if he had to evaporate the quarters out of their pockets to get them to leave at the exact right time.
He was actually bugs in the code.
Little bit flips that's like, please insert another quarter.
But so the Andalite's dying. He doesn't have much time, and he informs our heroes that there are
into his van. Sorry. I'm sorry. Did I jump ahead?
There are other aliens on this planet. They're already here, and they've come to destroy humans.
Yeah.
And then everyone just buys it.
They knew it was true. That's what they said. They said we knew he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're on to chapter 3 here for those following along at home.
Yes,
and
which we encourage.
The first chapter. Yes, we encourage following along closely at home so you can make up your own mind. It's important in this democracy that everybody vote for Tobias. But this is the first chapter that like legit ends and starts with the same line again and really gives you that feeling of a commercial break.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
Really.
It happens a lot. And I've been thinking about this.
It happened in the second chapter, but they changed who was saying the line and the meaning of the line, whereas this is the first time where time just rewinds a little bit.
But so like this was a way to help you stay grounded in where you just had been, so you didn't have to like flip back to see what was going on. And it is very like action oriented. These books are very action oriented.
Maybe they were trying to like anticipate the Goldfish audience and their short attention span,
right?
And just those page turns are a lot, you know? Why not put a little bit of the last page on the next page? Eddie, you should think about that for your book. When I
keep the momentum going.
Yeah, when I flip a page, how about you show me that last sentence again? Because I'm lost. I mean, I know it's top left. Anyway.
I do feel like on the TV show, I can hear these lines. Like, it almost wrote the script for the
It kind of reads like a screenplay a little bit. It's very engaging. I think it's time for Kid Lit to come back. Like, you know, the Warrior series, or Warrior Cats or whatever. I want to reread the Magic Treehouse books. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I was a big Junie B. Jones fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The B stands for Beatrice.
Yeah, she had such sass. I loved her. I was like, you are the coolest kid. So they've come to destroy us. Yeah, invasion's happening. It's already happening, Miranda.
It's already happening. The Yeerks.
Yeah. They're here. Yeerks. We hear the word for the first time. Yeah.
And he can't really describe what it is, so we get an image.
He really dances around the word parasite for like 3 paragraphs.
He does,
and then he's just like, let
it.
me show you. And then later, he says they're useless without a host, and that means they're parasites. And I'm like, all right, vocab word for the chapter, I guess.
He just couldn't remember like the human word. The human English word.
How you say leech. How you say...
Well, there's so much vocabulary that gets introduced here.
Like, there's like it's a big info dump.
Blade
we get
ship.
pork bajir.
Yeah.
Controllers, Yeerks. Hosts gets used in a very particular way.
Mhm.
Bug fighters, dome ship, Z space.
Z space is so
Z-Space
good.
is rad.
I want to live in Z space. I want to put on my puffy neon pants, go to the club, and live in fucking Z space. That's what I want to do.
So we're introduced to the idea that these yerk, slug, gray, green, slime, icky creatures are living in people's heads, and when you're controlled by one of them, you're referred to as your species controller, which to me always felt weird, like a human controller. They're actually referring to the yerk in your head, though, I feel like. It's a human controller. You're a human controlled.
Yeah.
I agree. It's not the cleanest convention, but at least they're somewhat consistent with that, which they're not consistent with much in these books. So, like,
Well, you know, when you write 54 of them in 6 years.
hey, I love it. I mean no disrespect to any writers. Like, I am inspired by these books for A, how great they are. B, the fact that if I wrote something, it would be 30 times less legible or comprehensible. And C, I'm totally going to do that. I'm totally going to write 50 books, and that's going to be our 5th podcast down the chute. So get ready for that.
Once we're done with Animorphs, you're going to get to read all our books. They're going to be nothing like Animorphs. But Chris's will weirdly be a lot like Animorphs.
Almost beat for beat. It'll be a reshoot. It'll be a reshoot of Animorphs. Like when they take a movie from one region and reshoot it line for line with American actors. I'm going to do that.
Andalites fight the Yerks. That's what we learned. The Andalites are fighting the Yerks, but this group of Andalites has lost. This is the last Andalite, we're told, and he has crash landed here, and he's dying.
Well, Jake gets kind of elected leader. He has someone to go on his ship. Jake gets,
get in my van.
Jake gets, it seems like there's like...
Just a consensus. Yeah, he feels like he looks at everybody and there's this weird consensus that he's gonna go. And he looks at Cassie and he's like, oh man, I have a crush on Cassie. And she thinks I'm gonna go in that spaceship. I guess I'm going in the spaceship.
He already described it as minivan sized. I'm sorry.
No,
it's
3 or 4 minivans. 3 or 4
That's
minivans.
4 times worse.
I can't tell if she chose this like smooth aesthetic because she thought that would define who the Animorphs were, or she just really didn't want to get into like a description heavy section.
I definitely like was very struck by her describing everything as very oval shaped, which is A, just a very broad description, but like B, like I just imagine walking, it gives a very clean image, and I feel like that's a very common image that was associated with like space at the time, was like this weird roundness. But I'm like, but also like if sharp and pointy is bad, then like round and soft is good. So the Andalites like, I've got this technology that can help you, because the Yerks, they just take you over, and if you don't know what's happening, like there's almost nothing you can do. Like he seems to imply that it's possible to fight back a little, but like mostly once the Yerk's in your head, you're yerked.
This is such a good bit of language to get going now. Oh no. Oh no, they got yerked. Oh no, guys, they're getting yerked over there.
And so Jake goes to the ship. The Andalite sends him in to get this box. He's like, you'll know it. It's this little blue box.
Can't miss it. It's the only box.
It's the only box
thing I brought. There's a little seed planted to show that Andalites are good guys. They
have the nuclear family.
Yeah, family photo.
Here's a family photo.
They mate for life. They have 2.5 children. Go to church on Sunday.
So he brings out the box. And
Bring out the box.
And he's like,
let's all touch the box.
He's like, you guys are just kids. All right. That's rough. And these are like real big scary bad guys. And that's rough. But I might be able to give you a little bit of power that could help you. And they're like, powers?
What? We thought you could just help us with our math homework.
Only the Andalites have the ability to morph.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I can give you that ability.
Marco, who I think is actually having a very reasonable response to this entire, like...
He really is.
Like a little bit of hesitation. He knows about stranger danger.
Yeah, exactly.
He laughs and says, become animals? And then Jake, being a complete asshole, says, Marco isn't the most accepting person in the world.
And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm right there with Marco. I just turned 31. If someone walks up to me and tells me, touch this cat, you'll become it, I'm going to laugh and say, become animals, and continue walking to the subway.
I will tell you, though,
yeah.
I'm not going to not touch the cat.
You were already touching that cat. Yeah.
Like, someone walks up to me with a cat before being prompted. I will touch the cat. And I will deal with whatever consequences come of that.
The complete lack of stranger danger going on here is like really impressive to me. Like it's and maybe this is where stranger danger comes from aliens, from outer space.
Probably.
Oh yeah, we learn all the rules. It's like you can morph, but you can only morph. You have to concentrate. You have to touch it.
You have to acquire the animal. You have to touch and acquire the animal's DNA. And,
Thank you.
And you will become that creature.
You will gain the ability to become that.
Yes. You can do that at any time now, unless you stay in that morph for too long. Your time limit is 2 hours, and that is a hard time limit. If you stay morphed for longer than 2 hours, you are stuck that way.
2 of your Earth hours.
Yeah, he says Earth hours, because it would be pretty confusing if it was Z-space hours.
Z-space hours, exactly.
In Z-space, the hours never pass. So the party never ends and the hours never pass. On to chapter 4.
I think also Cassie's the first one to say it.
Oh yeah, she's like down.
Oh yeah, she's 100% like, this is what my diary says on every page. I will be a horse.
And she's like, we could save endangered species. This is amazing.
Yeah.
That one's a little bit weird to think about.
She doesn't talk about how they do that.
Yeah, because like, are you guys going where my awful brain is going?
Well, she says maybe we could communicate with animals, so maybe she just means we could ask them how we could better help them.
I love what Chris is hearing. I did not get there.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, in case the podcast hasn't already gotten there, is that like if you were tasked with
there's only
offspring,
like one male black rhinoceros and one female black rhinoceros left. But you wouldn't expand
we gotta get in the mix and have a three-way
because it would be the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Finds a way, and that way is the Animorphs.
I like to imagine this Elfangor, the Ambolite.
Oh yeah.
Making 4 eyes.
Saying like, Cassie, you have to promise me you won't use your powers for that.
It is.
I didn't think that was a rule I needed to tell you.
They touch all 5 parts of the cube that the Andalite isn't touching.
Yeah, that's right.
6.
Quick math lesson. 6 sides to a cube.
6 sides to a cube. Important to know. It's going to come up a lot in here.
They touch the box. They get this weird, sort of pleasurable feeling. He does say that.
Yeah,
And Tobias is like, we gotta do it. And everybody's like,
we gotta touch this box,
Tobias says we gotta do it. They press their hands on it, and for a moment, there's a tingle, and then the Andalite's like, go. And don't stay in your morph more than 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta get out of here.
And then he's like, it's time for you to go. And then more lights in the sky, but not just the bug fighters we were warned about. Something else. Dun, dun, dun.
None of them scooting.
No, not cute scooting ships.
But mean squirting ships.
Before, when they're touching the cube, I'm underlining this point a lot, but which of these characters does Jake have a crush on? They're touching the cube. I looked at each of the people around me. My usually funny, occasionally annoying best friend, Marco. Rachel, my smart, pretty, confident cousin. And Cassie, who everyone knew liked animals more than she liked most people. Finally, I looked at Tobias. It was weird, the feeling I had at that moment, staring at him. A chill or something.
Oh, yeah. So
dude, he just ranked his friends. He did like a MySpace top 10.
I also feel like I just don't understand. It does seem like Tobias is the most interesting character to her, at least in this first book. So why not just make Tobias maybe just because he's not the leader?
Yeah,
man, it feels, and Miranda's probably going to say what I'm thinking, but it feels like a marketing decision. Like we started with our every guy.
Yeah, but
we started with our most vanilla.
that's a marketing decision for a reason. It means this is the book it's maybe easiest to project yourself on top of the narrator. So, like, it's the book where it's easiest to feel yourself in the middle of the action, whereas the books go on, you get to know the characters better and they become more whole.
This book is the tutorial for how to be a furry.
Yeah, I was thinking
you
that
have to
earlier.
you have to remember, Ed, she has to get us all there. And she knew it would take 2 or 3 books before we were, it's yeah. The
Tobias
first few
and Cassie
books.
already there.
Right.
Marco, the hard sell.
Right, but Cassie's the one that this character has a crush on, supposedly. So that's supposed to be like, oh, she's into that?
She's into animals?
Let's do it. Yeah. Oh, cool.
All right.
I'll be an animal.
So, we've gained our morphing ability, and out of the sky, we see those bug fighters that we'd been warned about. The bug fighters the Andalite had been fighting in space, but something else. A dark shadow within a shadow is with it. And that is when the Andalite tells us, it's Visser 3. He comes.
On what? No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, you're making up for all the time that these 12 or 13-year-olds spend not making jokes like that.
Yeah, they're remarkably restrained.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love when Jake, there's a couple moments where Rachel swears and Jake refers to it as like, at one point it's like she says some words I didn't know Rachel even knew. And I'm like, you're all like 12. You all know how to swear.
Whereas Marco says, you stupid jerk, and Jake says versions of that as well.
Marco's like, hey, I'm from a good Catholic family.
You stupid jerk.
So Visser 3's coming, and the bug fighters are landing. It says they look like cockroaches.
They're coming out the sky. R-E-Y, Mysterio. Here we go.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I love that also, apparently bugs exist elsewhere in the universe, because Jake says slowly the bug fighters descended. It was easy to see where they'd gotten their nickname, as if they have a common reference point with the
Oh, man. Another thing I'll say is like the whole, earlier they say like maybe all the aliens speak English like in Star Trek. Cassie, I need you to check yourself. They have universal translators, and that's how it works. It actually automatically recognizes grammatical patterns and normalizes it into what you're hearing. For all we know, Jean-Luc could be speaking French.
That's
just,
true.
That's true. Nice buttery French to everyone. Anyway, all right. Sorry. That's just been weighing on my mind.
JLP. Gotta love him.
I get to delete it from my complaint notepad.
So we meet Visser 3. We meet
Such a
Hork-Bajir,
hunk.
who are involuntary controllers.
That's
They've
right.
been enslaved by the Yeerks. And we get the Taxons, who are just an evil race.
Yeah, they're just like
Yeah.
dismissed as evil. He's like, the Hork-Bajir, even though they look like they're made of knives and have snake heads and look everything like you would assume like an evil monster would look, they're actually a very peaceful race.
Yeah. That
It just
totally,
says-
yeah.
The centipede
The
looking
Taxons
things.
are evil.
Yeah, they're evil, yeah.
The way that I imagine the Taxons, they're like these like slimy little caterpillars, like that, and they're like slimy little caterpillars whose like mouths are constantly in like an opera singer's like yeah, exactly.
And then they've got these big like it describes them as looking like red jello, their eyes, and I think about like when they used to do like really big fancy bowls of jello at like parties before I was alive. But they talk about it being a thing. You see it in movies and stuff. And it's like...
In Rugrats.
Yeah, in Rugrats. It's like the height...
Oh, that's the episode where they made Susie Carmichael.
Hell yeah. But like, yeah, it's like the height of opulence. But like, yeah, it's like big jiggly red, like, I think of them as like hexagons on their heads. And their mouths point up, which evolutionarily I think of as very strange. Because like, they're described as like gathering around places where they think food might fall. But like, does that mean that these are actually like just a scavenger species? Like, why would they be evil? But that's just me.
Yeah. They're dependent on the Yeerks, it seems.
Yeah.
And they just kind of follow them around like dogs.
It seems like they recognize their claim to fame. Like they were like, oh, we could do stuff here, you know?
So Visser 3.
Eternal yes men. Yeah, he comes
in
down.
a battle axe ship. He's in a ship shaped like a battle axe.
Yeah, he's metal.
Very fun. I feel like I really got how this time reading the book how much fun he's just an over the top Bond villain.
Oh yeah,
like so theatrical.
Visser 3 comes out of his ship, and we learn the terrifying truth: Visser 3 is the only Andalite controller. He is the same race as our new bestie who's dying. And thus, he is the only Yeerk with the ability to morph.
Yeah, you hate to see it.
And that's going to be a real problem. It's going to be a real problem.
I actually think it's one of the best moves, at least in this first book that she did, to have Visser 3 also be in it. Like, we just met a good Andalite. We know that the good guys look like this, but then also
the bad guys can look like this. And so he comes out and he's like commanding all these Hork-Bajir, our lovely snake knife friends. And he is just triumphant. He's like, I bested you and now I get to kill you face to face. This is so great.
He's making a meal out of it. He's chewing the scenery.
And they're like, oh my God, can he hear our thoughts? And like our friend, the Andalite.
Oh, we're all going to have a little competition to see who can say it.
It's like Prince Elfangor Serenial Shemtul.
Yes.
That was actually really good. Yeah, okay.
It's very
I'm
Lord of the Rings.
I'm not going to reveal how I say it. Yeah. So I say Prince Jub Jub.
Prince Dude. Prince Buddy.
Prince Bud.
So Prince Elfangor tells them through his thoughts, he's like, he can't hear your thoughts. You can only hear the thoughts that are being directed at you. He's just directing his thoughts at everybody in the area because he's showing off.
Yeah.
And
he's pontificating without pontificating.
He also seems to imply that human thoughts can't be heard. He says that he can't hear you unless you're morphed.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, so we learn that our Andalite friend is this prince. And he's like a really important Andalite. And we were like, we had no idea. We thought all Andalites were this
We just thought he had rich parents.
Yeah. I love that Elfangor is like giving like commentary on the scene that's happening in front of them. It's like the music video on VH1 where it would do little facts at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, pop-up video.
He's like, let me explain to you the ways in which I'm about to be murdered. And we learn that Visser is some sort of title because he's like, I'm going to be Visser 1 after I get finished conquering Earth. He's like, Earth is great because there's billions of people. And so we're introduced to this idea that maybe, like, there are more humans than there are of other races. Like, maybe we have more bodies. Like, we may not be very strong, but we're, like, very vast. And
very colonizable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you lost, this is the last Andalite in this sector of space. Now, we don't get told how big a sector of space is, but,
We don't want to paint ourselves into a mathematical corner. This isn't the 3-body problem. This isn't like the most rigorous, hard sci-fi, yeah.
I love that Visser 3 says, I promise you one thing, Prince Elfangor. When we have this planet with its rich harvest of bodies, we will move against the Andalite homeworld. I will personally hunt down your family, and I will personally oversee the placement of my most faithful lieutenants in their heads. I hope that they will resist, so I can hear their minds scream.
It's pretty over the top.
That's him constantly. He's at that pitch.
He's at that level.
Oh my God.
That's his, I just woke up and I'm ready for coffee.
Please talk to me before I've had my coffee. I'm a monster. Yeah, no, it's pretty incredible. He's like utter theater kid material.
Oh, yeah.
He would be, just an incredible Javert. He'd be so good.
So then we get to see Jake's favorite tale in action real quick because at that, Elfangor has to strike out. He has to do a quick little
just a little taste,
snap.
Little preview.
Yeah. And
the rest of them lean back and Jake leans forward. It's gonna do some damage.
Oh boy, did I call it, guys.
They start blasting everything with Dracon beams, which are totally different than phasers. It's nothing like Star Trek.
I think if you think they're phasers, you're just naive.
In the background of all this flashing light as they're destroying the Andalite's ship, they see the shadows or silhouettes of humans. And they realize there's people. And they're like, oh my God, people.
Okay, so we have Jake getting up and starting to shout at the frickin' Andalite at the Visser 3, right? Because, they start fighting, and he starts getting freaked out about the morphine. He's like, you filthy! And then all of his friends in turn yell at him, saying, hey, dude, stop being stupid. Like,
but they can't
like
stop
you
him,
did this
man.
at your-
They can't stop him. It's only the power, that magic Andalite telepathy.
And then he tells them, you guys got to run. And they start running. And this is where, you know, we get a little judgy about people's physical athleticism. Yeah, Rachel and Jake are the hottest and the fastest, so they tear off in a direction together.
Look,
but they
when
sort
you're
of, like,
running from a giant monster with legs as thick as redwoods that Visser 3 has just morphed into, like where Visser 3 in this giant monster form eats
an Antarian Bogmorph.
The Antarian Bogmorph eats
How could I forget?
Prince Elfingor, and they feel him die. That's so horrific. Like, can you
so
imagine
bad.
being 12
Yeah,
and
it's
like
so sad.
20 minutes ago everything was fine, and now you're feeling this person who you feel like has sort of always been your best friend get devoured in your brain.
think it's like living 10 years or 15 years with like a family pet in a single like conversation and then watching it. That pet get gobbled up by something as big as an Antarian Bogmorph.
Which he makes a joke about before he eats it. He says, nothing like a good Antarian Bogmorph for taking a bite out of your enemies. And then he does. He bites him, and I think his tail or his lower half falls on the ground.
Oh yeah, the taxons are like...
Which is easily the most violent thing. And I didn't see it, but as a kid imagining it, I was not allowed to see this movie, and yet I read this at a very young age, and it was so graphic.
This was like...
And then also, right after that, you get his cry will always be in our heads.
I love it, but like, he's dying
brutal.
for us. She is one of the ways Cassie tries to calm Jake down when she's like, he doesn't want you to die for him. He's dying for us. We've got Andalite Jesus.
Can't you see that, Jake?
Yeah, and then also, when the Hork-Bajir are chasing the kids, one of the humans says, just save the head, bring that to me, and we can identify
Oh,
it.
yeah, and that's where he's like, I feel like I recognize one of these voices.
Yeah, so we do recognize some of the humans right now that we're running away.
Which we didn't mention, that this is like a big part of Jake's character, is that he idolizes his older brother. His older brother, this book starts with Jake, like he tells us he just tried out for the basketball team because his older brother was like the star basketball player, and he really looks up to him, and he didn't make the team, and he hopes that he can win his older brother's favor by being on the basketball team.
Right, he's like really nervous about telling his dad and his brother that he didn't make the team, and then this happens, and that makes that seem like small potatoes.
Yeah.
Which personally, I like small potatoes, but
So now they're getting chased by the Hork-Bajir through the abandoned
construction site, and they split up.
Yeah.
And they split up, and Rachel and Jake go like, they do like a little like, oh no, we're the slow ones.
Yeah, they try to get their attention,
right?
To be like, because we're the in shape ones.
Hork-Bajir. And so they run off, and then they split up, and I think they chase Jake through a building.
Yeah, Jake ends up in the building because Jake fell down. The Andalite tells them, because they're like, when they first see the Hork-Bajir, they get all scared that they're going to see them, and he's like, just be quiet. They really don't see very well, like, but they hear pretty well, so like, just don't make noise.
Do they smell really well?
I don't know.
I farted in fear, and they caught me.
The most important thing I feel like in the chase is that, well, two things that jump out to me. Jake gets a homeless guy killed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jake starts something he's going to do through this entire book, which makes me think he has a really loose grasp on reality. He's convinced it's all a dream.
He's really hoping.
He's really hoping it's all a dream.
He's praying
he'll
the gay
spend
away.
the rest of the book hoping that it's all a dream.
At the beginning of every scene, he's like, "Yeah, it probably didn't happen." And then someone else who was there,
dreams, man.
Yeah, someone else who was there comes in and is like, "Hey, remember that thing?" And he's like, "No." And Jake doesn't know for sure that homeless guy got killed. Jake runs through a little corridor, and there's a little homeless man. And he's like, "Hey, find your own spot to sleep," which is just already heartbreaking. And then he's like, I heard, it's like, he's like, sees the flashlight land on him, and then he hears this screaming as he runs away, and he's like, maybe he got away.
He really doesn't sit with it for that long, though, because he never mentions this again.
It's like, I saw someone die last night. You saw 2 people die last night, Jake.
I saw 1 person die.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!